Hey guys, it's John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur here. Welcome to IFYL, Inspirations for Your Life. It's so great to have you here. And if you are new to the show or to my channel, you'll notice a QR code at the top right. Just use your phone to scan that QR code. It'll take you over to my link tree with lots of great information to help you become a better version of yourself and help others become better versions of themselves as well. If you're having any technology challenges with getting to the site by the QR code, then just go to believemeachieve.com. Remember, before you can achieve anything, you have to believe it first. That is really important. Now, we have a brand new master topic every single week that starts out on Saturday and it ends on Friday. So we have seven distinct episodes, and each day we get a little more granular into that main master topic. If you're coming back, well, welcome back, my friends, colleagues, and associates. It's wonderful to have you here. Great to have you and to have you sharing this great knowledge and information. And I hope that many of the new people will become loyal just like you guys. Hey, you love my channel. Why don't you like it, support it, show it some love, and then why don't you comment below? What is it that you want? I'll share it with you right now. And that is, yes, what is the tip of the iceberg? What is the tip of your iceberg? Let's talk about that for a moment. All right. So in life, when somebody basically is trying to achieve something and they stop, they don't stop because they can't do it. They stop because they've made a mental decision to actually make a choice to not do it. And the mountain might seem very big and lofty to you, but really that mountain is just made with lots of little small mountains. And the journey might seem really far and long, but every journey has to start with a step. And you don't have to worry about all the million steps you need, but it's a collection of steps that'll get you to your milestones and then get you to achieve your goals. I know in life, ladies and gentlemen, that people ask me every day, John, how do I get from here to there? Gotta have a swig of water. How do I get from here to there? Many of you may or may not know that I'm a sailor and love to sail. Did competitive racing for a long time. And I remember the very first time that I got into a competitive race. I remember being in that race, and to be honest with you, being dead last. And I was like, oh, really? And then I think I got in a few boats, so I wasn't dead last. I was third to last, which is a little better. Came into the yacht club, had our lunch, and was just like, oh, what a horrible day. I had fun, but I didn't place. I didn't win any trophies. So what I mean by placing is you only place if you come in first, second, or third. And usually you would get a flag or a pennant. And that was really something important. I remember when I would crew for people that I would place. But now that I was being my own skipper, I didn't place. And I was like, what do I need to do to place? And the first thing I realized is that it was a choice. It was a choice that I had to figure out what was going to make my boat be just a little bit better than someone else's. Now, we're all sailing the same boats in my class, but was it the weight? Yes, I had to make sure that I had the right person, the right kid on the boat that could maneuver, that was just enough weight, but not too much weight, so I wasn't going to be bogged down at the start. I had to make sure that the person that I got on my boat was agile enough to move around, even if they weren't knowledgeable about sailing, and that they were able to follow directions and they were going to be a good crew member. I also had to make sure that when I was in my race, that I got better each time. How'd I do that? Well, I took additional lessons beside what the club had given me. Well, not gave me, you basically had to pay for lessons, but I went and got a professional instructor who was in our community, and she was a top sailor at our club many years ago. And I learned from her. So I took private lessons, and she used to tell me, John, in order to be at the tip, right? Because only certain people can be at the tip. There's only a few boats. The rest of them are going to be at the tail, right? And so we would call it the tip or the head. And so the difference of that would be where I sat in the boat, how much my sail was pulled in, how much I fell off or I put my tiller away from the sail or I pushed in just to get just enough a wind in the sail, but not enough that it would cause the boat to be too into the wind. And if the boat was pulled away too much and I had too much wind in that sail, then that could be a problem too. So I had to have this balance. Again, there's a lot of dichotomies in life. And so in sailing, you had to have the right weight. You had to have the forethought to be able to think about what was going to happen to you if something happened. If a boat came in my path and it blocked my wind, what was I going to do? What steps were I going to take? And so I kept thinking about this. And when it happened, I'm like, oh, I know what to do. I can head off. I can do this. I can come about. I can do all these things. So I foresaw what could potentially happen. And I had a game plan. The next race I got in, it was about a week later. And again, I was racing dead last, as I told you, third to last, which was really terrible. But I had fun, but I didn't win. And I wanted to win. And so I decided to basically get some more lessons. And the next time that I sailed, to really be diligent while I was out there. To notice things like how far my butt was off the boat. How could I, proportionate the weight so that I would have the best sailing experience? Was my sail always just barely into the wind, so it was a little bit off, so it was getting the, let's say, the creme de la creme of the best wind? We don't want to be dead center in the wind. We don't want to be too off. We want to be just on that point to where we're almost into the wind, so we can kind of just what we call beat. And that's a great way. You could also reach, which is when the sail was out halfway, and then you could run. But I loved it when we would beat, because you'd sail right on the edge of the wind, and it was an amazing experience because you would have the boat almost up on its heel, and you'd hike yourself out, and it was amazing. So the tip of the edge was for me to figure out, how do I become a little bit better? How do I figure out how to not be third or fourth from last? So I practiced. And that race, I got a little better. There were 50 boats in the race. And now I was about, instead of being way far down, I came in seventh. Seventh from 50 boats. Pretty good. But still didn't place. I persisted more. Next race, I came in sixth. Then I came in fifth. Then you know what happened? I came in fourth. But one of the boats I discovered had done something that was a penalty, and they didn't follow it. So I reported that boat, and actually I placed as third. So I was really happy. So I think what I want to share with you is that in life or in sailing or whatever you do, you have to realize that you got to be at the top of your game. Now, not everybody in life wants to be at the top of their game. They say they want to be there, but they don't put the time, the effort, or the energy, or that persistence, or that passion into it. They just show up. And I have to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, you don't become successful by just showing up. It's part of it, but it's not the whole thing. And if you're thinking that it's just going to get handed to you, well, you got to have a good attitude. We've talked about that. So the tip between being last or almost dead last, and then you know what happened after the next race? I placed second. I continued to place second for the rest of that summer. And then there was one final race. It was a bridge race, which was a very hard race. You had to basically do what they call a Le Mans start, where you'd be on the beach, and you and your crew would be, I would say, at least maybe 200, 300 feet from the boat. Then you'd have to have the boat ready, and you'd have to both run. We call it a Le Mans. You'd run to the boat, and you'd push it out, and you have to get right into the boat, and you have to get going immediately. Then when we got to a bridge, we had to have our crew use the halyard to take the sail down. And then the crew member had to take the mast out. and hold it over the boat. And then while we were under the bridge, only while we were under the bridge, we were able to paddle, 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 paddle. And as soon as we got just on the other side of the bridge, we quick put the mast back up, pull the halyard, get the sail back up, a little bit wet, and now we're on our way. That race, I came in first place. And that was the beginning, because the next season, I placed first almost every single time. I think there was 1 or 2 races that I placed second. And people that want to place first have to get up early. Now, do I mean you got to get up early in the morning? I mean, no, you got to do the hard stuff. You got to do the things you don't want to do. You see, getting that trophy, getting that award and placing was wonderful. But there was a mindset, there was a mentality, there was a discipline that went with that. And so the tip of the iceberg was what everybody saw, that, wow, John's a great sailor. But they never saw what was below the iceberg. A lot of people. Now, some people that were with me through my trials and tribulations and knew that I had a hard time, knew this was well-deserved for me. But a lot of people are like, oh, he's a great sailor. You didn't see me 6 months or a year ago or 2 years ago. And I think this goes back to a famous story of a lion. And I've said this once before. And the lion is a great big lion today. And it's tied to a stake. Very small stake with a rope. It's only a few feet. And you're saying to yourself, John, that lion can break free of that rope. Yes, it can. But when that lion was small, it was tied to that stake. And that lion tried to break free, and it couldn't. A few weeks later, it tried again. A couple weeks later, it tried again, and it gave up, and it never tried again. And by never trying again, it cemented into its mind that I can't do this. And this goes back to Henry Ford. If we believe we can, we're right. And if we believe we can't, we're right. So a lot of people in life never get to experience the potential of their life because they're working with the tip of the iceberg. They're not working with all the stuff that's underneath. And when you cultivate the stuff that's underneath and you're able to bring that to the tip, that's when you become successful. We're saying, John, that's a lot of work. That lion today would have tried. That lion would have easily broke through. You know, there are things in your life that you probably have done when you were a kid, and you just can't do them now. Not because you can't, because you made a mental choice in your head that I can't do it. So you've given up. And like I said, you haven't given up because you can't. You've given up because you made a choice to give up, a decision. Because what you experienced many years ago earmarked you in a way that said, I can't do this. I can't do this. It started to become a part of you and your anatomy and your body and your mind. You're like, I guess I can't do this. So the tip of the iceberg is all anybody ever sees. But there's so much more that goes into the tip. Let me give you another example. My mom, my grandfather always used to love lighthouses. I love lighthouses too. Did you know there's a lot of work to run a lighthouse? Did you know that? Now you might say, gee, what kind of work? There's a lot of work. So a lighthouse keeper performs maintenance tasks, cleans windows and the lenses of the lighthouse, winds the clock, replenishes fuel, replaces bulbs or trim wicks, checks automated systems, uses fog signals, takes weather readings, makes logbook notations, assists in search and rescue efforts, maintaining the grounds, launch and navigational equipment aids, provides tours and historical information, and, of course, manages the gift shop. But, you know, becoming a lighthouse keeper is not something you just wake up and say, I want to be a lighthouse keeper. You got to develop a passion for lighthouses. You got to develop a passion for wanting to help those boats at sea be able to safely become ashore. So you might do this by becoming part of industry groups or professional organizations, right? Like the U.S. Lighthouse Society or the National Park Society. Maybe you'll want to volunteer on a lighthouse. Maybe you'll want to do an overnight or a vacation at a lighthouse, because the profession has fewer full-time positions than in the past. Finding work as a lighthouse keeper might be very challenging. Lighthouses are all around Alaska, California, Maine, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, North Carolina, Oregon, New York, Rhode Island, Virginia, Washington, Wisconsin. So what are the skills of a lighthouse keeper? Well, to be a successful lighthouse keeper, you have to have good oral and written communication, technical and computer literacy, strong organizational skills. You have to have autonomy, the ability to work independently as a lighthouse keeper, and realize that you're not doing this for a pat on the back. You getting that light shining and keeping it working and getting boats ashore, that should be your pat on the back. You've got to be friendly. You've got to be mentally and physically fit to be able to handle the upkeep of a lighthouse. Now you might say to yourself, well, gee, what does a lighthouse keeper make? Well, the average lighthouse keeper makes just under $50,000, $46,680 per year. And you might say, John, that's not a lot of money. And you're right. But people that become lighthouse keepers do it because they have a passion for it. Maybe they had a relative or a brother or a cousin or a father in the service, and that person barely got home, or maybe they didn't make it home, and maybe, unfortunately, they gave their life at sea. By having a proper, well-managed lighthouse can help save lives. A boat out there is looking for that tip. It's looking for just that little bit of light so it knows what might be shore. And when a boat captain sees that tip, they start to realize there's hope. They start to realize that they're close to shore and that they're gonna make it. A lighthouse is an inspiration of hope, motivation, integrity, and so much more. A tip in your life should be just that. It should be what helps you unfurl everything that's below the surface of your life. Now, if we talk about a tip, let's talk about the tip of the lighthouse again. And it seems very shiny and it's bright and it seems great. But most people don't realize the work, the hours, the time, the effort, the dedication, the research, and the challenges that a lighthouse keeper have. It might be easy to maintain a lighthouse when there's no storm, but things happen when there's a storm. Maybe the light gets knocked out. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. It's been a privilege and a pleasure and honor to be with you. Be sure to like, tag, support, love my video, and be sure to buy us a cup of coffee by clicking on that link and buy my team that cup of coffee. We'll be so grateful for those pennies and dollars. We'll invest into new hardware, new technology, new equipment, new software to give you the most jaw-dropping, motivational content ever. Thank you so much for watching. And remember, it is all about, yes, the tip of life. I hope you enjoyed. We'll see you soon.